Hello and welcome to our next panel in the
Sıradaki
third day
oturumumuzu
of Interleague.
başlatıyoruz.
So we are going to be
Yine
talking about the
etkinliğimizin
fan
3. gününde
engagement.
olduğunu
So
hatırlatalım. Bu kez
here are our
taraftarların
speakers.
sürece dahil
Christophe
edilmesi ve
Gogela
tarafların
from
katılımıyla ilgili bir konu
12
konuşulacak.
Man brand ambassador and founder, please.
Şimdi ben konuşmacıları sırasıyla davet ediyorum. Buyurun lütfen.
Jamie Scriabas, content
Jamie
creator of Liverpool FC
Scriabas,
Supporters Club in
Liverpool
Malta.
Futbol Kulübü, Taraftarlar Kulübü. Buyurun.
And Darren Young,
Ve
the
Darren
Fan
Young,
Experience Company
Fan
and Director and
Experience
UEFA Mentor.
şirketinden. Buyurun.
It's yours, guys.
Buyurun, söz sizde.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor for me to welcome you all here at this amazing venue of the Convention Center here in Granada Luxury, here in Badak, Turkey. I would also like to extend a warm welcome to all of you watching us live on YouTube or on TV. Hanımefendiler ve beyefendiler, sizleri Badak, Türkiye'deki Granada Luxury Oteli'nin kongre merkezini muhteşem mekanında ağırlamak benim için bir onurdur. Ayrıca bizi YouTube üzerinden canlı olarak izleyen herkese de sıcak bir hoş geldiniz demek istiyorum. Panelin İngilizce olarak gerçekleştirileceğini lütfen unutmayın. I hope I didn't butcher that up this much. The legendary Scottish footballer and Liverpool manager Bill Shankly once said, at a football club there's a holy trinity, the players, the manager, and the supporters. During his career, he transformed club football by emphasizing the importance of supporters, making them feel like a real part of the game. Needless to say that his legacy still lives on, and today, over 60 years later, clubs and football governing bodies are doing their utmost to push fan engagement to next levels. From the integration of AR and AI to in-stadium experiences, through avalanches of social media content all the way to blockchain and club tokens, it feels like this realm is endlessly filled with new opportunities of improving the fan experience. It glitters all bright, but is it all gold? Today we're going to find an answer to this and more questions with our panel of distinguished and reputable experts, and it's my pleasure to welcome you here, gentlemen. Let me maybe start with you, Darren, because we can all see you are the director of the Fan Experience Company, and I think we've all Googled that the Fan Experience Company does match assessments, but what does it really entail?
Yeah, thank you. We assess the matchday experience for clubs, leagues and federations at all levels of the game, in men and women's football. For example, we assessed 10 games from FIFA at the Qatar World Cup, and last summer we were working in Norwegian's women's football with crowds of less than 400 people. We've done this since 2006, and our biggest, longest-serving client is the EFL. So we assess every EFL club twice per season. And then after the assessment, we provide the club with a report that tells them what their matchday experience is like, and also how they can improve in future.
Jamie, let me start by welcoming you. It's a real pleasure to have you here because we feel like, fan engagement is a very important topic in football, but hardly ever do the fans really get their say. And so it's a real pleasure for us to also have you here and give you the space to talk. You are not an ordinary fan, you're a super fan. I think Jamie, in one season of Liverpool, he attends more games than some of us do in a lifetime. Jamie, what does your typical season actually look like?
My typical season would start basically going through the fixture list, seeing what games are going to come up. Normally I travel with my dad, so just quick, let's see what game we're going to go, and obviously that's the rest is history and content begins there. So
Ve zaten sonra her şey
that's
başlar,
basically
içerik
what my
başlar.
content entitles to.
Amazing.
Ve ben içeriye
Gentlemen,
bakarım.
let's start with the actual panel questions.
Evet, asıl panel
It is
sorunu
notable that fan
soracağım.
engagement is becoming more important to
Taraftarların
clubs, the
katılımı
football
kulüpler
associations,
içinde
and other football
önemli,
stakeholders.
federasyonlar ve
Why do
futbol
you think
paydaşları içinde
we
önemli.
keep talking about fan engagement
Sizce
much
biz
more
neden
than years
taraftarlar
ago?
konusunu geçmişe
Well, if I
kıyasla
could
daha
start, I
fazla
mean, I
konuşuyoruz?
don't think
Ben
fan
başlamak
engagement is a
istiyorum.
new thing at all.
Taraftarların katılımı ve katkısı,
Certainly, we've worked with the EFL, as I say, for nearly 20 years,
biz 20 yıldır
improving the
çalışıyoruz
experience. But I think that
kurumlarla, oldukça deneyimliyiz
whilst
bu
clubs have
konuda.
recognised fans in the past, I think
Kulüpler
there's
geçmişte
now
de taraftarlara
some changes that have
önem
happened
veriyorlardı.
that have made clubs
Ama
realise
çok
that
şey
fans are much more
değişti.
important.
Yani kulüpler
So
için
two
artık
that spring to
taraftarlar
mind,
daha önemli hale
the
gelmeye
pandemic,
başladı.
when stadiums were empty
Pandemide
for
stadyumlar
18
bomboştu.
months, created
Ve
lots of
18
issues,
ay boyunca
and
problem
made
yarattı
fans
stadyumların boş olması ve
much more
taraftarlar
important to clubs when they came back.
kulüpler için
And
ne kadar
also
önemli olduklarını orada bir kez daha
the
kanıtladılar.
proposals for the
Pandemiden
European
sonra
Super League,
stadyumlara
I
geri
think that made
döndüler.
clubs really
Ve
realise
bence kulüpler de
how
artık
strongly fans
farkında,
felt and how important their
taraftarlarla
views were.
kendilerini daha güçlü hissediyor
Darren, you just said
kulüpler.
that football fans have
Evet,
gotten more important.
taraftarlar giderek
Jamie, is
önem
that really
kazanmaya
true? Do you
başladı.
think over the
Kesinlikle.
time
Jamie, sen de öyle düşünüyor
your
musun?
position
Yani
is
zaman
getting more
içerisinde
important?
pozisyonunun daha
Nowadays, as
önemli
it's
olduğunu
happened
hissettin
that
mi?
the fan has become the most important
Taraftarlar
person from the
bence artık
club because
kulüpler için en
without the
önemli
fans, football is
kişiler.
nothing.
Yani taraftarlar
We learned that
yoksa
from the
futbol hiçbir
pandemic
şeydir.
that
Bunu
football without an
pandemide
atmosphere,
gördük ve
you cannot have
öğrendik.
it
Yani futbol
because
atmosferini
the fan,
taraftarla
after all, is
yaratabiliyorsunuz ve
everything for
taraftarlar
the club.
aslında kulüpler için hemen hemen
Football without
her
fans
şey
is
demek.
nothing, but
Yani futbol
having said
tarafsız
that, how do
hiçbir
you
şey,
actually
taraftarsız
keep a
hiçbir
fan
şeydir.
engaged?
Peki taraftarları
It's
nasıl
important to have a
içeride
good communication with the
tutacaksınız?
fans,
Elbette
which
iletişimle,
at the
onlarla
moment
iletişim kurarak.
the clubs
Çünkü şu
want
an
the fans to
kulüpler
have their say in everything. So it's even
söyledikleri
having
her sözde
with the Super
taraftarı
League, it
da
ended
dahil
up bringing
ediyorlar.
the
Yani,
supporters board along, which the fans really feel important
taraftarlar
when they
kendilerini
hear about
önemli
the supporters board.
hissetsin
So
diye
that's
kulüpler de
important.
buna önem
Darren,
gösteriyorlar.
you as a professional, do you agree with Jamie's
Evet
point of
Darren,
view?
sen de
Yeah,
Jamie'ye
I
katılır
would say at
mısın?
this point it depends on the type of fan.
Şimdi özellikle de
Some fans
taraftarların
don't want lots of
çeşidine
engagement.
göre
They
bu
want to just
değişiyor.
do
Bazı
their thing, turn
taraftarlar
up, watch the game,
sadece maçı izlemek
swear at the referee,
istiyor, işte
and
ya
then
da hakeme
go home
küfretmek
afterwards.
istiyor ve sonra gidiyor
Newer
evine maç
fans,
bittikten
younger
sonra.
fans,
Yeni ve daha
particularly
genç olan
families,
taraftarlar, özellikle bunlar aynı
want
zamanda
more engagement.
aileler,
So,
daha fazla
or generally want more engagement.
kendilerini
So that's where clubs have to look for ways
katıyorlar
to
işin içine. İşte kulüpler
develop
de
the whole experience beyond the 90
aslında
minutes.
90
So that
dakikanın
includes
ötesinde bir deneyim
having
yaşatmak
things
istiyor
outside the stadium.
taraftarlarına. Yani
It
stadyumun
includes
dışında
much
da
more
bir deneyim.
communication in the build-up to the
Orada
game.
tabii ki iletişim çok önemli.
It involves
Maçla
doing
olan
more inside
iletişimin
the
de
stadium.
kopmaması
It's
lazım.
not just
Ama
the game
maç daha çok
itself.
stadyum içi
So
bir
things
deneyim.
like
Ama kulüpler stadyum dışında da
activations,
bir deneyim
using the
yaratmak
mascot
istiyorlar.
and things like that to really
Çeşitli
improve the
aktivitelerle,
in-stadium experience.
yani stadyum
And,
deneyimini yaşatmak
apart
ve
from anything
sürdürmek
else,
istiyorlar.
even if a club has nothing else to offer, its
sunacak
people
hiçbir
can
şeye
really make a
sahip
difference.
olmasalar
So
bile
having
insanlar bir fark
people around the
yaratırlar.
stadium who are
Yani
looking for ways to
stadyumdaki
engage with
taraftarlar,
fans, maybe giving high fives
belki
to
sadece,
children, for example,
işte,
really changes the
el
atmosphere.
çakmayla
So
atmosferi
every club can do
değiştirebilirler.
something.
Yani her kulüp bu anlamda
Talking
kesinlikle bir
about
şey
the
yapabilir.
whole experience and extending it beyond the borders of the
Deneyimin
stadium.
stadyum sınırları
What have
dışarısına
you guys seen
taşınmasıyla
clubs
ilgili
been doing
olarak
lately? Are there any
kulüpler
innovations
bu
that
anlamda neler
really
yapıyorlar?
are being put
Yaptıkları
into
yeni bir
place?
şey var mı?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's innovations as such.
Şimdi
It's a
yaptıkları
slow
yenilikler
evolution
varsa da bu yavaş
of
yavaş evriliyor.
gradually getting better
ve yavaş
and
yavaş
understanding
daha
what the
iyiye
fans
gidiyor.
need.
Ve
If you think of
taraftarların neye
most
ihtiyaç
fans,
olduğu giderek
they
daha
are
iyi anlaşılmaya
established.
başlanıyor.
They've been to the ground several times, maybe several thousand times. They know what to do. So I think clubs are starting to understand that newer people, first-time fans, younger fans especially, haven't been before, and they need lots more help. So the things that the clubs are sort of doing a lot more, producing guides, so a first-time fan guide, to tell them everything they need to know. There are lots more fan zones all around stadiums that people can go before, maybe 2 hours before games. There is a lot more use of mascots. So, utilising figures within the club, but to do more work to get people really, into the match day atmosphere. And one of the two final things, clubs are asking for feedback a lot more. So that's a really good thing. But more than anything, what you see at a lot of grounds in England, especially, is here to help teams. So groups of people who are there not for safety, but to make sure the fan has a great time. So they'll walk around, look for fans who may be lost, look for fans who maybe not know where they're going, and say, look, over there we have a zone or a shop or some food and drink. So really helping the fan to get the most of the experience.
Jamie, how is it for Liverpool Football Club? I mean, from all your travels, all your trips to Liverpool games, have you seen any innovation, any improvement in the fan experience yourself?
As Darren was mentioning, yes, the experience starts when the supporter arrives at the stadium. So when you see the stadium, you're seeing the guides, seeing the food and drink area, the merchandise. So it's important that these people are advised what's happening. Even nowadays with the team, you see the team bus going in, you have the stewards, they're all guiding the people so that everyone can see the players walking in. So it gives the clients and all the people around a good experience. So I can agree completely with what Darren's saying.
For many of us, a match day experience also goes hand in hand with a positive outcome of the game, the positive sporting outcome. But is it possible for a football fan to really enjoy themselves, even if their team loses miserably 6-0?
Well, from my background at the moment, going to loads of games.
It's no use asking Jamie, he supports Liverpool, they're top of the league. So
I would expect to win, but being a normal fan of any club, you all just want to enjoy the experience. Some people might not be lucky to go to games very often, so they want to enjoy it from beginning to end, so you never know what might happen.
Darren, you've been doing all those assessments. Are there actual proven cases where fans have been enjoying the experience even if their team lost?
I think it's impossible to separate the two. So I don't think you'll ever see a situation where a fan will say, we lost and we were terrible, but I had a great time, so everything's fine. But I think what clubs can do is control the controllables, so they can influence everything other than what happens on the pitch. So I think the best that the club can hope for is that the fan might say, that was terrible, but everything else was great. The team were rubbish, but everything else around it worked, and that's really good. But obviously, you asked Jamie that question. My own team in the EFL, they had a 25% win rate in the last 6 years. So if you are relying on a team to be successful, to keep the fans happy, that's a really dangerous strategy, because very few teams win as much as Liverpool do, and you can't base everything on, well, as long as the team win, everything else is fine. So that's really important. And I think, again, going back to a previous comment about newer fans, families, younger fans don't care quite as much about how the result is. So they will be more forgiving if it's a bad performance, as long as they're having a good day out. So as that changes, I think we'll see more and more clubs able to create a great experience, even if they don't win. Just one example from the US, Orlando City, for 2 seasons, won, I think, 5 games at home in 2 years, and their attendance never fell. So it was the same all the way across the 2 years. So the experience was good, and they didn't lose any fans.
I think you've just touched our next topic, because when it comes to fan engagement, there's obviously a lot of challenges. Right now, at the moment, what do you feel like are biggest challenges clubs
Siz ne
have to
gibi
face?
zorluklar
For me,
var
it's
bunun önünde? Ne
definitely
diyebilirsiniz?
the challenge of
Bence en
how to
büyük
engage
zorluk
with
tabii ki
the older
genç,
children. So
daha
children
doğrusu
from
yaşlı,
11-year-old through to
yaşı ileri
17,
olan
18.
çocuklar. Mesela 11 ile
I think
17
if
yaş
you look
arası
at
çocuklara
in England
ulaşabilmek.
definitely, but
İngiltere'de
probably across most clubs, they are
muhtemelen
very, very
bütün
good
kulüpler için de
at
bu böyledir.
attracting and appealing
onlar,
to like a very
daha
younger
ziyade,
demographic of maybe 6 to 10-year-olds.
6-10
So give them a
yaş
shirt, free
arası
tickets,
çocuklara
get them to
ulaşma
meet the
konusunda çok
mascot,
iyiler. İşte
takes
tişört
penalties on
veriyorlar,
the pitch,
maskotlarla
all things like that.
tanıştırıyorlar. Sahada
Those kids love
penaltı
it.
çektiriyorlar.
As soon
Çocuklar
as the
bunlara
kid
bayılıyor.
gets to
Ama çocuk
11,
ergenliğe
then they're suddenly,
geldiğinde
"Whoa,
11
that's
yaşına
not cool."
çıktığında aman bu da hiç
And they
güzel
want
değil diyor.
completely different
Hiç
things,
havalı bir şey değil
maybe
diyor. O zaman
maybe
işte
to
ne
do things
yapacağını
on their
bilemiyor
phone,
takımlar.
maybe
Daha
to
ziyade çünkü
go on
çocuklar bu sefer
consoles.
takımla
So the clubs have to
cep
think, how do we
telefonlarıyla
engage
oynamaya
with that
başlıyor
older
ya
age
da
group?
işte
Because
oyun
otherwise, they're just going to disappear
PlayStation'larıyla
and go and do
oynamaya
something
başlıyor.
else.
Yani o
Communication
bırakıp
is
başka
obviously
şey
a very
yapmaya
important
başlıyorlar
part of, fan
ve
engagement.
onlara
Jamie,
ulaşmakta en büyük
from your
sorunu
experience,
ergenlere
let's
ulaşmakta
really talk
yaşıyoruz.
about, the LFC.
Peki Jamie,
How do they,
LFC'de durumlar
talk
nasıl?
to you
Onlar
as a Liverpool fan?
bir Liverpool taraftarı
Liverpool
olarak
fan,
seninle
they
nasıl
normally issue
iletişime
surveys to the
geçiyorlar?
club.
Sana nasıl ulaşıyorlar?
So regarding
Anketler yapılıyor.
tickets,
Ve
food and drink area, merchandise, so any area they will
her
ask you to
türlü
do a survey.
alanla,
The
her
problem
türlü
is us
alanda
as fans,
yiyecek
we would
içeceklerin
not know
satıldığı
once the
alanlarda
survey has been
da böyle
submitted
anketler
what is the
yapılıyor.
outcome. So
İnternette de
that kind of
yapılıyor.
feedback the fan would
Ama
need to know, because
taraftar
if there are any
bu
changes after all, the fan
anketlerin
needs to know.
sonucunu görmüyor hiç.
So what
Yani
changes
bu
would you
anketlerin
propose in,
sonucunda ne
the
çıktı?
way
Bunun sonucunda siz
LFC
ne
communicates
değiştirdiniz?
with their
Bundan
fans,
hiç
or any
haberimiz
other club,
olmuyor.
for instance?
I would allow maybe the fans to get
Bence
involved with the social media.
taraftarların sosyal
So like
medyaya
if a fan wants to
katılabilmesi
be at the
lazım.
event
Mesela
and wants to
bir
get a
taraftar
moment
bir
and wants to upload it straight
etkinliğe
away,
katılmak
they have the
ve
right to do
bir
it.
şeyi
Not with the
alkışlamak
problem
istiyorsa
with
bunu
social media and
yapabiliyor
TV rights,
olmalı.
because if
Sadece
you upload a goal
mevzu
during a game, that gets
bir
taken down unfortunately.
oyun
So
sırasında
that's a kind of
bir
problem
maç
for a fan.
sırasında bir golü alkışladığınızda bu
Darren already
şey
touched,
yayından
this.
kaldırılabiliyor.
We
Çünkü
really
yayın
cannot
hakları
leave
söz
out,
konusu
the
ve
young
sosyal medya
generation.
hakları
According to
söz
the
konusu.
reports
Bence bu
compiled
bir
by
problem.
diverse media last
Peki,
year,
sosyal medya
52%
raporlarına
of
göre
members of Gen Z don't
Gen Z
think
kanal
watching live
üyelerinin
sport
%53'ü
is important.
canlı spor
Now,
yayınlarının
obviously,
önemli
clubs
olmadığını
and,
düşünüyor.
other football
Spor
stakeholders across the world
kulüpleri
are
ve
battling with the
diğer
inability to
paydaşlar
resonate with
bu
the younger audience.
genç
What
şeye
strategies should the
kitleye
clubs
ulaşmakta
implement to
sorun
make
yaşıyor
sure that
muhakkak ki. Peki bunun
they
için
will
ne
be
gibi
able
stratejiler
to
uygulanabilir?
attract younger audience and
Bu
maybe
genç
even if there will
kitleyi
still be
çekebilmek
any
için?
football fans in 20 years from now on.
Yeah. I mean,
Şu anda
as I
Türkçe
said, for the
çeviriyi
very young
dinleyen var mı
fans, it's
efendim
probably
salonda?
not too much of a problem. It's quite an easy sell, and generally, those fans will always come with a parent or a guardian, so they
Şu
will
anda Türkçe
already
çeviriyi dinleyen var
have
mı
a
salonda?
quite a good
Varsa
system in
çevirmen
place.
kabinine
I think for older children,
dönebilir mi?
it's difficult, as I think as anyone who has teenagers as children will know, they're very difficult to tell what to do or get them to do what you want them to do. So they are a difficult group to engage with, but I think above all, they need a really compelling reason to come to a game and to attend in person and watch the game and stay interested. So the clubs have to be really conscious of making the whole experience about far more than just the game itself. So just to give an example, and the club have to sell this, by the way, they have to really sell the fact that it's more than a game. But if I give an example, some clubs that I work with, they have consoles where people can play FIFA and etc. and get involved in things before the game. And the very best clubs at this also recognise that one thing that really engages fans at a young age is players. So if they can get access to the players in any way, that will really, really make a big difference. So one great example is one of the clubs I work with. They have a squad of 25 players, and they will say, well, 18 will be changed and playing on a match day. The other 7 are employed by the club, and therefore they have a responsibility to do something on a match day, and they will go into the fan zones, talk to kids, talk to families, talk to fans, and play on the consoles. That creates such an amazing experience. The fans are going to think, wow, I want to come back again because that was so good.
We did touch on that and also add something from my point of view. I mean, nowadays, with the younger generation, I mean, the rise of short-form content on socials, I mean, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, the attention spans are, I mean, when you look at the research, they are shrinking. I'm sure our psychological colleagues would be able to explain a bit more about that. But Jamie...
Well, just going to add there, very few young children that we see at games can actually watch a whole 90-minute game, at any age, really. So clubs have to think about this and not just expect them to sit there and get fed up, because that's the easiest way to turn them off turning up in future. So what the clubs need to do is think, can we put other things around the stadium so that if they get a little bit bored, they could maybe go and play table football or something else. I'd urge anyone who wants to learn how this works in practice to look at the Danish club, Brøndby, who do some amazing things inside and outside the stadium, so that there's thousands of children there, but they can either watch the game, or when they don't want to watch the game, there's hundreds more things for them to do, and that keeps their junior attendance incredibly high.
Jamie, you as a football fan, what should a club do to keep you engaged at all times? Not just at the stadium, but really 24/7 engagement kind of thing. What should they do?
Well, I think fan engagement on social media has become the most important thing within the sports industry. So if a fan wants to meet a player and they want to upload, they're inspiring people to say, listen, this club is giving that chance to people to meet the players, or there's sharing of videos to say this stadium is unbelievable, so I need to go there, and it gives people the feeling that they want to go. So I think they should imply these kind of things.
Amazing. I hope the club people here are taking notes. According to the same report I cited in a couple of minutes earlier, Gen Z has also a player-centered approach. 49% of Gen Z apparently prefers to watch player highlights as opposed to highlights of whole clubs. Now, how can these clubs turn this around to make those young people follow the club instead of individual players?
Yeah, I mean, it is incredibly difficult. I mean, I think when I got into football as a youngster, it was very different to what it is now. There was nowhere near as much competition. I probably didn't know a lot of the players, so the club meant far more. So I think what has to happen in the future is clubs have to really sell themselves, have to really help fans understand the story of the club, the values, history, and really make themselves far more relevant and important to that younger audience. Because, and one of the ways they can do that, for example, is around real issues such as sustainability, such as homelessness, all these kind of issues. Young fans are really interested in these things, far more than probably I was at their age. And they will really connect with clubs who get involved in that sort of thing and have a real strong cause. So I think that it is possible, but it is really difficult. I think one of the easiest ways is to really get younger fans involved in the club in a much stronger way. So I'll give an example. A lot of clubs in the EFL in England do junior takeover days, and the idea is that lots of children just come into the club for the day and take on various roles. So somebody takes the role of the chairman, finance director, manager, you know, so there's all, but it's very gimmicky. It's very aimed at small children who do it just for a bit of fun. But I wonder how many clubs could invite older children in and say to them, what do you really want from this club? And what do you really think? And how should the club be managed? And I can guarantee that the clubs would get a huge amount of value from that. Because they do from the smaller ones, so they definitely will from the older ones.
It's definitely about resonating with the younger audience. In the beginning I said I'm talking about Gen Z. Jamie, even though you're not maybe a textbook definition of Gen Z, I mean, you're still very young. For you, about content clubs produce and really what Darren just mentioned, what do you think, what would you like to see from them in this?
I'd like to see the fan and the club just getting along with these fan engagements, so the supporters can, especially the young ones nowadays with social media, need to get engaged with them. So I come from a different background because I come from my family basically coming up from Liverpool fans,
Bu
so
arada
I have the same
benim
reason as
ailem
Darren
de
had.
hep
So
Liverpool
for
taraftarı.
nowadays, you need to, even as a supporter, maybe if you want to show stuff to other people, at least maybe you get them involved in the club. So even becoming a fan for clubs like Liverpool and other big teams. So
You being a content creator as well, I mean, Jamie creates incredibly authentic content from his travels around Europe watching Liverpool, but have you faced also some struggles in that area?
Regarding that, sometimes you get people saying you're not a true fan or you're just doing it for famous things. I'm 100% a fan, obviously. Going to watch the team wherever they play, it can be even other countries that they're hard to get to. I find a way to try and go no matter what. So if that doesn't prove I'm 100% fan, I don't know what will.
Amazing. Now, if you look into the future, really, of fan engagement, Darren, I'm going to start with you. What does the future look like?
I think if we look to the near future, in my experience, football moves fairly slowly. So I think there will be some innovation in the near future, but generally, I think there will be a progression of things that are already probably in place now. Definitely, fan zones is a real area that's moving very, very quickly in football's, for football's comparative slow speed. Before the pandemic, 10% of clubs had a fan zone. In England now, every club, or maybe 90% of clubs have some kind of fan zone. And if a club doesn't have a fan zone, the fans want to know why. So that's something that's we've seen a big change. The other thing that's perhaps made a real difference is the improvement in food and beverage at stadiums. So lots of clubs are really understanding that people care about food, they care about the quality, the healthy options. So we're seeing lots of clubs improve, and I think that's going to continue. So lots of clubs will start to really bring out some very interesting menus, when in the past it was very boring, a burger, a pie, beer. I think we'll start to see that develop a lot. I think we'll probably see clubs begin to engage in more two-way dialogue, or I certainly hope we will. So that's something that clubs need to get much better at, but I think they understand. And finally, it's not too much at the moment, but I think there's lots of clubs starting to understand that they have to ask for the fans' opinion. So we're starting to see more surveys and more opinions sought from fans, where there's one great example where a club actually rings any new fan that comes to the club, rings them after the game and asks them how it was, which is, that's a really good thing to do.
Yeah, we can all agree that the future definitely looks bright. Jamie, looking into the future, what kind of future improvements you'd like to see?
As Darren was saying, the better communication between the club and the fan is needs to be a lot better. So hopefully that will give a rise to a good response, and having the club having that interaction with the fan, it means a lot, especially in the short term. Let's say by the end of the season, hopefully that would be a good improvement. So time will tell.
Hoping that for you that it's all going to work out in the end. A couple of months ago, the IMG has published a report about the 2024 digital trends in sports, and one of them was that generative AI and automatic content creation are going to be one of the things having the biggest impact in the industry in 2024. We decided to actually test out the powers of AI a little bit. We asked AI if AI could come up with a question for our honorable gentleman here. Let me just quickly cite what AI had to say. Greetings, Darren and Jamie. Considering the evolving landscapes of fan engagement, Darren, drawing from your expertise, how can sports organization leverage the passion and insights of dedicated fans like Jamie, who may not have a background in the football business?
Yeah, I think if you look at what a lot of clubs do, they will say, yes, we really engage with fans, we ask their opinion, we do this, we do that. They really just scratch the surface. Very few clubs are taking the knowledge and passion of fans like Jamie and really bringing that into the club and understanding that. They say they try to do that, but actually it's quite a high level. And what they really need to do, in my opinion, is to really go beyond that and get fans into the club and really ask them where the future of the club needs to go. Because at the end of the day, these fans are the people that will keep that club alive for the next 100 years. So they have to shape its future. And I think the more clubs understand that, the more they start to work with that and start to actually listen properly to what people say, then that hopefully that answers the question for the AI.
Surely hope so. Jamie, AI had a question for you as well. In the context of fan engagement, Jamie, do you see opportunities for fans to actively contribute to the decision-making processes of football clubs or leagues?
I don't see it as should be a problem. So nowadays we see how the fans are getting involved. So it's just having another person there that can give a good idea to the club. And after all ideas matter to the club. So let's hope that they will do that.
It's amazing to hear what a passionate football fan you are, and really trying to make a positive change in the football realm.
I think if I could add as well, I mean, I think technology is clearly going to play a huge part in the future of football. That's obvious. But I think, for example, as I was driving to the airport to come here, there was a report, and it says that in roughly 10 years, we're going to be watching matches in stadiums of holograms. So we could have Pele and Johan Cruyff on the field as a hologram. Now, I'm not sure I'd like that, but we'll wait and see. But I think there is going to be this huge leap for clubs to say, we need to use technology, we need to really understand how technology can help us. But as with the example I gave before, and it's actually Middlesbrough in the EFL, just picking up a telephone and saying to a new fan, you came to a game for the first time today, what was it like? Now, I know that using telephones to call people is really old-fashioned, and I'm sure you would never do that. But actually using basic technology to just really understand what fans really think is so much more engaging. And it says two things. It says, tell us what you think so we can use it to improve the club. But it also says to the fan, we really care about you. and we really care about your opinion. And I think before we get too hung up in 10 years' time and holograms and all this stuff in the future, let's just use what we've got to really get the basics right now, and I think that's really important.
Gentlemen, before we wrap up, I have one last question prepared for you, and it's a very short one. I'm not sure it's that easy to answer. What's the one thing you would like to see happen in the fan engagement by the end of this
Peki
season?
taraftar katılımıyla
Let's count
ilgili olarak,
end of the
taraftarlarla
season,
etkileşimi
after the
olarak
Euros, after the big
gelecek
tournaments in summer.
ligde, gelecek sezon
Shall I go
neler
first?
görmek istiyorsun?
I'm not saying this is something that has to
Yani
happen
bu
in
tabii
the
ki
next
o
6 months,
şart
but what I would love to say
önümüzdeki 6
is
ay boyunca
every
kesin
club
yapılması gereken bir
appoint
şey olarak
someone
söylemiyorum
in a
ama
senior
her
role
bir kulüp
whose
üst düzey
responsibility
bir
is
yetkiliyi
to look after fans,
taraftarlarla
find new
ilgilenmek,
fans, and make
taraftar
sure
bulmak,
that all the
taraftar yeni
fans,
taraftar
those in the
edinmek
stadium
ve
and the ones that around the world
stadyumdaki
that
ve
support
dünya
the club
genelindeki
have the best possible
taraftarların hepsinin
experience when
mümkün
dealing
olan
with that
en
club.
iyi
Now,
deneyime
at the
sahip
moment, most
olduğundan
clubs have
emin
no
olmaktan
one
sorumlu
anywhere
birini
near that
ataması
level of
gerekiyor. Şu anda
seniority.
hiç
And I
kimse
think if every
üst
club
düzey yöneticilerde
did that,
böyle bir üst
we would
düzey
have a much
yönetici neredeyse
different
hiç
view.
yok. Eğer böyle olursa o zaman işler çok değişecek bence.
More on to what Darren said,
James,
so I'd say fan
ben de,
representation.
sen ne diyorsun? Ben de
I would like
katılıyorum.
that for a club to have it if
Bir
it's possible,
kulüpte
because after all, the fan can
mümkünse
say,
böyle bir
listen,
üst
this
düzey
is
yetkili
going
olması
wrong, needs
gerekiyor.
to
Çünkü
improve.
eğer
If
taraftar
it's a
size
short-term
ya bu iyi
improvement,
değil, şu
it's gonna
yönleriniz
matter
iyi
for
değil,
everything,
bunları
so-
değiştirmeniz gerekiyor
And-
diyorsa
and he
bunu
just wants Liverpool to
duyabiliyor,
win the Premier League.
dinleyebiliyor olmanız lazım. Tabii Premier Lig'i de seyretmeleri
Gentlemen,
gerekiyor değil
amazing.
mi? Evet,
That's
çok
marks
teşekkür
the end
ediyorum.
to my questions, but I'd like to
Benim
ask,
sorularım
if
bu
we have,
kadar.
some questions, from the audience.
Salondan sorular varsa alabiliriz.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can just maybe get the microphone.
Mikrofonu
over
ile
there.
ulaştırabilirsek.
Is it-
Yeah.
Or the mic guy is coming, I think, yeah. Sure, over there, yeah.
Greetings all.
Hello.
Herkese merhabalar.
Christos AI, greetings to you.
Christos, yapay
So
zekadan
one of the questions,
geliyorum.
and myself and my colleague here were just talking about this. So in
Burada
Turkey, and it's come
meslektaşımla
up
konuşuyorduk
in the
Türkiye'de
previous panels leading
ve
up to this
daha
as
önceki
well,
panellerde de
around
konuşuldu bu zaten.
accessibility and diversity
Ulaşım,
to the
çeşitlilik,
stadiums and the makeup of fans and how
ulaşılabilirlik,
comfortable potentially
taraftarların,
women feel,
özellikle
potentially children feel
kadınların,
coming
çocukların
into
stadyuma
areas like
rahat
stadium,
rahat
which can be male
girebilmesi,
dominated, can
orada
be
rahat
quite,
edebilmesi
a daunting experience
ve
for certain
onlar
people.
için korkutucu
But if we
bir
broaden
deneyim
that aspect of
olmaması için
diversity, so in the UK we've seen the rise of
çeşitlilik
sensory rooms, for example, to be able
açısından
to
mesela
cater for people that
bakacak
have,
olursak
diversity
İngiltere'de
in, neurodiversity sense rather than a physical diversity.
özel mesela
How important do you think that is
izleme
to the fan
odaları var.
experience and what
Sizler
innovations
için
or what progressions do you
sizin
think we're gonna
fikrinize
see in those
göre
spaces?
bu
And
katılımın
then as an add-on, what kind of advice would you
çeşitlendirilmesi
give to
ne kadar
countries like
önemli
Turkey that
ve
potentially
Türkiye
are
gibi
struggling with
ülkelere
with a
ki
more diverse
özellikle
fan
bu
base and
çeşit
their engagement on a
taraftar
match day rather
tabanını
than a
çeşitlendirme
digital sense?
konusunda sorun
Yeah,
yaşayan
that-
ülkelere
shall
ne
I
gibi
go? I mean,
tavsiyeleriniz
that's a really,
olabilir?
really fantastic question.
Çok şahane bir soru gerçekten.
If I speak from my
Ben
experience in
kendi
England with the EFL
deneyimime
especially,
dayanarak özellikle EFL
clubs, as you say, have really
özelinde
understood that, and they've been
kulüpler bunu
working for
gerçekten
several years
fark
now
ettiler,
to make
anladılar
the
ve
whole
son birkaç
experience a much
yıldır
more,
bütün
family-friendly one.
deneyimi daha
So,
aile dostu bir hale
I think it
getirmeye
doesn't happen
çalışıyorlar.
overnight, it's quite a
Bu
long
tabii bir gecede
process,
olacak bir şey
but
değil,
clubs
uzun
have
bir
really started
süreç
to
ama
understand that if they are
kulüpler en
going to
azından
attract
bunu
younger
anladılar
fans,
ve
families,
işte daha
female,
gençleri,
fans to the
kadınları
stadium, it has to be a much
stadyuma
nicer
çekmek
place to be.
istiyorsak bu
And
ortamı güzelleştirmemiz
so,
lazım
I
diye
think that's
bunu
gonna
anladılar.
continue. I think that
Bu
it really
bence
helps.
devam
You're right
edecek
about
bu
the sensory
trend
rooms.
ve
I think
bu
what clubs have really picked up on in England is
özel
that
odalar,
having making it as accessible as
odalar
possible for
bence
everyone actually increases the
çok
number of fans
faydalı
quite significantly.
uygulamalar
Because
ve
if
tabii
you have a
bir
sensory
de
room, for example,
herkese
then a family might be able to come to a
sansürlü
game who would never in the
odaların
past
olması,
have even entertained it because of it was just too noisy, too much going on. Suddenly, they have a place where they feel much safer and much more comfortable, and then the whole family can enjoy it. And the club from a simple numbers point of view, can suddenly bring in 4 new people who previously felt it was out of reach. So to answer the first part of the question, I think there's, you know, they're all moves that really help in that direction, but we have to get better and better, you know, and perhaps take out some of the antisocial elements, but not ruin the fact that it's a football game and we still want to swear at the referee as often as possible. So, but to answer the second part of the question, to help other countries, I mean, it's very easy for me to sit here now after nearly 20 years and say, try and make it a lot more family friendly and all that sort of stuff, because the EFL program, for example, has been a slow, long program that's taken season after season of improvement, of, you know, gradual improvement to get to where it is now. And obviously, I presume most leagues haven't got 18 years in which to do that. So I think to accelerate it, what really helps is just to say, if we think of our environment, the stadium, the club, and what it would be like for someone who is absolutely new to that club. Because most, in my experience, the fans who come every week and know everything they need to know, they'll just carry on as they are. But someone who's new to the club, there's all sorts of things that they need to be able to do that, to enjoy the day. So if the club focuses on that, and the league helps them to focus on that by creating maybe a program or some kind of standard that the clubs have to meet, then the clubs will start to think much more about a new fan. They'll do things that will help new fans, and the great thing is that helps every fan, because that means there's more information on the website, there's more signage around the stadium, and there's more things that every fan, and particularly people who are perhaps new to football or are trying to get into the game, can really appreciate. And the fans who know it all, well, they'll just carry on as they were. Hope that answers it.
I might just add something to it, because, I mean, coming from my background, which is in social media, I feel like lots of clubs in Turkey, and not just in Turkey, I mean, it's in all areas of the world, but there's a big difference between being active on social media and between being engaging, really. So I think in order to really resonate in the audience, don't just be active, but also make it make sense and really research the trends and try to be more engaging. I think there was one more question somewhere in the audience. Yeah, if we can just get it.
Hello, thank you for all of your presentations. It was so informative for me as an outsider of a fan engagement concept. I'm a sports scientist, by the way. I want to ask, there's no doubt that fan engagement is so important for the clubs, but I just wonder if clubs are aware of it, and I think there must be a team or a crew to just manage the fan engagement of the club, but at least just one person in charge of that. But I just wonder, in practice, do clubs have that kind of staff or members in the team, in the management? My second question is, which particular club or clubs comes to your mind when you think about values the fan engagement the most?
Do you want me to?
I think you can go for the first question.
I'll answer the second one first if I can. I mean, we do a program, for example, that measures the whole fan journey, and teams are rated, and they get scores, and league tables are created. As in football, at any level, people move up and down. The most consistent club in the last few years in the EFL in England that I'd definitely raise as a great example is Middlesbrough. They're a team in the northeast of England, not very fashionable, if that's the right word. They'll kill me for saying that. Not very fashionable, but they in 2008 didn't have any kind of matchday experience at all, and they didn't even get the EFL standard, and they just decided they would do everything possible to make that happen. And they went out, they painted the stadium, they made it much more attractive, they had cartoons on the toilet doors, they did all sorts of really innovative things, they created a whole family zone. They're the club that ring fans after the game to say, how was it? So the whole experience, right from the website, which is fantastic, right the way through to the end of the game and asking for your opinion, is just joined up, and it's fantastic. So that's the first question. To answer the second one, to answer the first one, probably most clubs haven't got that kind of resource. Liverpool have, and some of the Premier League clubs definitely will have, so that's fine. A lot of clubs at a smaller level usually have one person. Some people don't even have one person. They have someone who does the role, but also does ticketing and marketing and other things like that. So I think if you were going with the question where I think you were going, clubs really have to find more people to do the kind of tasks, because that says it's important, and it also says to the fans, you're important. And at the moment, I think if you just have one person who's trying to do 10 jobs, and that's just one of them, that's the signal that goes out, is fans aren't quite as important as they should be. So I think what you're seeing at the moment is lots of clubs are starting to recruit more people, and at slightly higher level, and pay more money to them. So hopefully it's a trend that's going to just keep moving in that direction.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe Jamie, would you also like to answer the second question? Is Liverpool one of the clubs that should be taken as the...
Liverpool should be taken, being a big club. So, and I mean it as a top club. Even if it's Manchester City, Arsenal, they should all adopt it. So, I think it's a big subject at the moment that needs to be worked on. But
amazing. I think that's about...
Christoph, sorry. We have a combined question here.
Oh, yeah. Just go for it.
So we were talking about balancing the fan experience for your hardcore, traditional, historic experience versus your more diverse, younger, socially conscious, aware fans. Recently we saw Arsenal reintroduce the No Room for Red campaign. So all white jersey, it's meant to be against knife crime and encouraging awareness around that, which is big in North London. In Turkey, we've also got the purple jersey that Samsunspor wear. But on the flip side, whilst we're engaging that type of crowd and the fans that want to use football in that positive way, are we diluting then the experience of those traditional fans? And that's like, we sit on two different spectrums of that here with Yahya Abi, and he's asking, when we do all of that fan engagement, do we start to dilute that experience for others?
Yeah, I'll definitely take that as the biggest fear when the EFL began to really look at the matchday experience was from the clubs who said, are the core fans really going to want this? Or they're going to say, oh, we're going to be doing too much for kids and too much for families and too much for women. They've done it. And I can honestly say, having gone to a lot of games, it doesn't really change the atmosphere. And if it does, is that really a bad thing? There's some things that, are probably unacceptable. The generation of fans, and I'll include myself in this generation, who want to just have a drink and swear, we're not going to be around forever. And that new generation, I don't think want that quite as much. So whilst I don't think we ever want to dilute it completely, because there still needs to be an atmosphere, and I think there still is. I've seen plenty of grounds where the atmosphere is great, but they've still got a nice family area where people are enjoying it, but in their own way, without perhaps some of the more antisocial sides. So I think the two can sit together side by side and coexist.
Would you like to add to that, maybe?
I was going to say, as Darren was saying.
I've said everything.
So great minds.
Amazing. Are there any more questions? Doesn't seem like it. Well, in that case, thank you, gentlemen, for taking your time, taking up with my invitation and speaking here. Thank you, all of you also, and
thank you.
Hope to see you next time.
Thank you. That's all. Super. That's all.
Thanks a lot to Christoph Golleder, Jimmy Skrebas, and Darren Young. So stay tuned with us for our next panel. We are going to be talking about prevention is the key to incredible performance and consistent results. Yeah. Our dearest friends, Nicola Innocenti and Marco Magistrelli will be with us with İrem Ergeç.